My name is Adewale Ayodele, a technical support engineer at Ha-Shem Limited. So I work with solutions around Active Directory, Office 365, and so forth also. So here are some of my interests. I have interest in football, new technologies generally, and food. So if you want to know more about me, you can check me up on LinkedIn with that name, Adewale Ayodele. So today, my colleague and I, Babatunde Lamidi, will be taking you through this section of Get Rid the files of that file server. So basically, this section is talking about how organization can leverage on cloud solution like Aligame, as earlier said. As we all know that in this pandemic, most organizations are being forced to work remotely, which has changed the process or has influenced a lot of businesses on the way they operate and the way they work now. So some companies that work with highly sensitive or confidential information which are stored in file servers as opposed to users' system are faced with the challenge of providing a VPN access to their user to be able to access this document. And some staffs that were working with a desktop machine were also faced with challenges having access to their personal document. So a solution to this challenge is taking advantage of the cloud solutions such as OneDrive for Business for users document and also SharePoint Online to replace your existing file server. So to also provide maximum security and also well-controlled access irrespective of the user's location. So today I'll be taking you through talking about what file server is, the drawbacks around file server compared to cloud, and also the traditional way of redirecting and syncing user profile, user files, and also the modern way of doing it, that's the OneDrive for Business and the benefits around OneDrive. Also, we'll be discussing the traditional way of sharing files and storing complaint information, that's the map drive basically, and the modern way of doing that. And we'll be showing you in a short demo how to migrate this user profile from the user system or your user's device to OneDrive, and also how to migrate this map drive to SharePoint Online. Lastly, we'll be entertaining questions at the end of this section. So what file server is? So file server is a central storage computer that is connected to the network that allows you to store files, documents, databases, which are accessible to users with authorized access. So administrators will define the permissions each user has to various resources. So if a permission is given to a user, a read permission is given to a user, the user can do more than just read that particular folder or that particular file. He or she cannot delete or create or do any other thing to that folder except reading that particular folder. So majorly, file servers are used for two main reasons. One is file repository and also like a data backup. So file repository where multiple users can access that can go there to access stored files that have been saved on the file server and use it to carry out their daily activities. And also for the backup, it can serve like a backup for users that has been redirected. So users that have their files redirected to file server, this document that have been redirected can serve like a backup in the case of theft of damaged disks. So this user does not necessarily have to do anything. User does get on that system or get the system up and running and have this document given to he or her through the file server. So the file server makes it available for the user since the document has been redirected to file server. So here are some of the drawbacks around on-prem compared to cloud. So first is the high capital investment. So as we all know that if an organization is about to set up an on-premise storage or an on-premise server, it will require an investment, a very large investment of purchasing hardware, purchasing server. This investment or this cost is not only limited to these servers. You also have to spend money on cooling these particular servers. You have to spend money on powering these servers too. So these are some of the drawbacks that are faced with on-prem or compared to cloud. As cloud, you don't necessarily have to spend that amount of money to be able to set up your infrastructure. Another drawback around on-prem is that the maintenance costs of your hardware and your software. So for you to have your servers up and running, you have to be doing a regular maintenance on these servers, and these servers will have to be running on this maintenance to keep it in optimum condition. And also regular backups and regular updates for your software and hardware is also needed so as to make it efficient to your user. So under one, it's the scalability. So for scalability, businesses that expand and need more storage or other resources finds it harder to scale up very easily. It's quite difficult because for them to scale up, it has to go through a lot of process on like a cloud solution where you can just simply scale up by just clicking on an expandable plan on the cloud provider's website or cloud provider's link. So for on-prem also, you are limited. You have to spend more on IT support, as extra IT support is needed on on-prem compared to cloud. You need lesser IT support on cloud. So now we're discussing about the traditional way of redirecting and syncing user files. As we all know that user files are stored on their local user profile, and this has limited users to just working on that particular device or that particular machine. So users that want to work on other machines don't have access to do that because they have to think about the challenge of getting their documents to the other machine and also having it sync once they are done working on that particular document. But further redirection has come to address this issue, as users' folders can now be redirected to a directory on the network share. So user can just go to a computer since their document has been redirected to a network share and go to a computer that is connected to the network, go there and sign in and work on their particular on their document. And once they are done working on that particular document, the document is synced back to the file server and made available to user anytime they want to use it again on the network. So some drawbacks around this folder redirection is the user cannot just access this folder anywhere. User has to do it on the system that is connected to the network. So for example of this folder redirection, where it comes to place is users that have their systems redirected and are about to get a new machine. They don't need to copy these documents that have been redirected to the file server. All they need to do is just to connect that device to the network and sign in. So once they sign in, their documents are made available to them on their device. So for OneDrive for Business, which is the modern way of redirecting and syncing users' documents, is a cloud storage provided by Microsoft that allows users to be able to save files, documents across multiple devices. So with OneDrive for Business, you can save your files across multiple devices over the internet. So organization needs to leverage on this solution so as to redirect users and sync their files to the cloud and make it available to them. So for OneDrive for Business, you can explore a lot of settings while sharing your document or your files to users within your organization or outside your organization. Settings like expiration of the link, password. You can even disable and allow editing while you are sharing this particular document with users, and even block them from downloading this user. This I'll be showing you in a short demo also. So for users that are with Office 365 subscription, they have storage up to 1 terabyte where users can redirect all their files from their local machine to the cloud and have it accessible to them anywhere they are. And for people, users with Microsoft account, they have storage of up to 5 gig. So here are some of the benefits of redirecting to the cloud. So one which is the expiration link, like earlier said. So as we are all aware that data security is of top priority for most organizations, so OneDrive have given us this feature for organizations to leverage on as an additional layer of security. So users they can now set expiration dates to the link they are sharing to these users. So once this expiration time is over, the file or the documents shared won't be accessible to that user. So another benefit is the offline access, as we are aware of this challenge of internet faced during this pandemic. So OneDrive allows you to be able to save folders on your local machine. So once your internet is quite bad or it's not stable, you can download the documents to your local machine and work on it. So once this internet connection is back, these changes you've done on this document is synced back to OneDrive, is synced back to the cloud. So another benefit of OneDrive is the collaborative feature, which allows you to collaborate in real time with multiple users. So multiple users can access and work on a particular document at the same time, irrespective of their location. So you can have 3 users working from location A, location B, location C on a particular document, and they are rest assured that these documents you are doing the necessary editing and changes are syncing automatically, and you are seeing these changes you are doing in real time. So yeah, some of the benefits of OneDrive for business. So once your document has been synced to OneDrive, you'll be familiar with these icons. You'll be seeing these icons. So the first icon is the online only icon, which means that once you see a file with this particular icon, it means that this file can only be accessible to the user via the internet. So once the internet is not up, the user won't be able to access that particular file. And the other one is the locally available file, which once you see this file with this icon, it means that an online only file has been opened, which has been downloaded locally to the user's PC. So the user cannot access it without the internet. So if user wants to free up space, user can change back this locally available file to online only file, which will now free up space on the device of the user. And last is the always available file, which is always kept on the device. So whether there's internet or not, this particular file is always available to the user. So map drive is basically like an extra disk on your computer that is not actually present on your computer. So most organizations map their folders, some documents like sensitive information on users' computer, which is made available to them once they are on the network. So once the user is off the network, users won't be able to access these documents. So this part of the challenges being faced with organizations during this pandemic, where they have to work remotely. They have to make sure VPN is made available to the users. Not only is VPN made available to the users, organizations also have to make sure that these servers that host these drives are up and running for the users. So with SharePoint Online, my other colleague Babati will be discussing more on how to migrate this complete information from this drive to SharePoint Online. So before I hand over to Babati, I'll be taking you through a short demo on OneDrive for Business. Just a second. So can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So in my environment, I have Active Directory, I have a file server, and also a client machine. So in this client machine, I've done a configuration on my environment. I've done a configuration that allows users the files, that's their desktop, their user profile, basically, to be redirected to OneDrive for Business. So you can achieve that using the group policy, using the group policy. So I'll just take you through very quickly on how that was done. So this is the group policy. You go to your group policy, you create a policy. So once you create that policy, you create an environment for that particular policy. So once you've created your environment, so the environment, you'll be stating where you'll be stating your tenant ID. That's the grayed out. For me, my tenant name is grayed out. So for your organization, it can be Inamorata or any other thing. You would state it like this on the policy. That's under the user configuration. So once that has been done, you go to the folder. Hello? Is anybody talking? Okay, so you go to the Windows settings of the user and go to folder redirection. So once you go to the folder redirection, you right click on each of these documents and change the root path of this particular document. So you change it to OneDrive sync/document. So once you do this configuration, users will be able to have their user profiles redirected. So let me quickly log into a user client that this policy has been pushed to. So OneDrive for Business. So now I will sign in with my Office 365 account. That's Ellen. So once I sign in, users, you see that on the File Explorer, this 6 user profile has been redirected to the cloud. So why this has been done, user's profile will be synced to the cloud. So once this has been done, you can share this particular file with users in your environment or outside your environment. So one feature you can leverage on while you've synced your user profile is the shared documents, share settings, where you can state various permissions you want on that particular document. So if I'm sharing this document and I don't want anybody to edit it, I can choose that I don't want anybody to edit it. I can state an expiration date for this particular document. So if I say I want this particular link I'm sending to this user to expire by this day, I can do that and also set a password. So once I set a password for it, I'll have to inform the user of the password, and so that the user will be able to access this particular resource. So I input the email of the user. Let's say Ella in America. I will send it to user. So once I send it to user, let's go to the user side. So now I'll be logging in as Ella at Inamarata, like the other user. So I go to OneDrive, or I can go to OneDrive or Outlook to see that particular document being shared to me. So I will just come to shared and come to files shared by me, with me, sorry. So you can see that this particular document has been shared, is seen in shared with me. So you can even see you can even get a mail notification once a particular document has been shared with you. So you can see now. So Ella was able to receive a notification. So once she tries opening this particular document, she's required to provide a password, which is the password I said earlier. Okay, you can see that this is the document, this is the file that has been shared with her. That's the Microsoft.link, that's the setup file sent to her. So she's able to see it and download it. So let me show you another picture of blocking the user from downloading a particular file. So I want to share this particular document with a user also. Let's say Ella too. Let's choose Ella. I can disable editing for her, set expiration like I earlier shown, and set password. And also check the block download. So once I choose this, I put this configuration, I click on apply and put her email address and send it to her. So let's see what the experience is like for Ella. So a mail notification has been sent to her that this particular file has been shared with her. So once she tries to open it, she's required to put a password. So once she puts this password, she won't be able to do any other thing. She won't be able to download or do anything. So you can see that the download feature or the print or do anything feature is not made available to her because of the configuration I've set for this particular document. So another feature that an admin can also leverage on is blocking a particular file type. Maybe you don't want users move MP4, MP3 to be redirected to the cloud. You can do that by going to the admin center of your portal. Go to the admin center. So you click on all admin center to be able to see OneDrive admin center. So you click on OneDrive. So you click on sync. So in this place, you'll be able to set the various configuration you want for users while their files are synced. What are the permissions you want them to do? What are the various things you need them to do while they are working with the OneDrive? You are able to set this with the admin credential as an administrator. So I can choose to block a specific file type. So I will just mention MP3 and I'll just list them. So once you list them like this and you save, this set of file types will not be redirected to the cloud. So another thing I want to show you is if a user by mistake deletes, let me sign in as Ellen. Let me show you how to do this on OWA also. So I want to sign as the user that's sharing this document on OWA as browser. So if by mistake a user deletes this particular file on our browser, by mistake, she deletes this file, the user can go to the recycle bin on the left navigation pane and restore that particular document. You can also do that on File Explorer. So with File Explorer, once you delete by mistake, you can go to the recycle bin to be able to retrieve that particular document. So another feature you can leverage on is to the view only, the made available, and keep this particular file on your device. So if I want to change this particular document to made available or to keep it on my device, I just right click on that particular document and click it on always keep this on this thing. You can see that this icon has been changed to the one I earlier showed. So if I want to also move it from staying from my device to cloud only, I can just free up space with this and make it to a cloud. So basically, this shows that with this you can access your document and even share your document from anywhere or at any time at any place. So I'll be handing over to Lamidi Babatunde, who will be taking us through on how to migrate our map drive to SharePoint Online. So over to you, Lamidi.
Thank you, Wale. Welcome, everybody. My name is Babatunde Lamidi. I'll be taking you on how to migrate your files to SharePoint Online. So if today is the first time of you hearing about SharePoint Online, I would help you to understand what SharePoint Online is and how you can leverage on all of its features and all of its fantastic features for your workplace and also for your business. I was going to explain SharePoint Online and then walk you through how you're going to migrate your file servers from your on-prem computer to SharePoint Online. So it's going to be a quick demo, but first of all, I need to explain what SharePoint is. Sorry, I have no slides. All right, so you have a SharePoint Online, you have a SharePoint account, and you want to migrate your file servers from your local PC to SharePoint Online. Let's assume I have on my PC a network drive that is called J. So in this network drive, I have two folders, File Shares Business and File Shares Track. They are on-prem. And I want to move these folders to my SharePoint Online or SharePoint account. So how do I do it? One of the drawbacks that my colleague Adewale talked about was the fact that it's very expensive to maintain file drives, file shares. And with SharePoint Online, there is no need for on-site hardware or capital. There's no maintenance cost. Microsoft manages all of your infrastructure for you. So there's less IT support and it's easily scalable. So this is my on-prem drive right here. I have two folders, like I said before, and I have File Shares Business. I have 2 files in it. File Shares Track, I have 2 files in it as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to log on to my SharePoint Online account. Go to portal.office.com. And I'm going to sign in. Hello, can you?
Babatunde.
Okay. I went off. Brent.
Hello, Tunde, are you there? Hello, Tunde. I'm sorry, I think he's having network issues. Hello, Tunde, can you hear me? Sorry, just a minute, please. Let me get through to him to know the challenge he's having. Okay, very sorry. Babatunde is having a little network issue, but before he joins the call again, I don't know if we have questions from what Adewale has taken us through on OneDrive for Business. So we can welcome questions at this point on what Adewale has taken us through. So if you have your question, you can ask, or you drop it on the chat window. I'll just take it up from there.
Hello?
Yeah, hello, Emmanuel.
Hello?
Can hear you.
Okay,
Hello,
thank you
Emmanuel, I
very
can hear
much.
you.
Okay, thank you very much. My question goes as this. I understand that we've been using it, performing this repro with OneDrive for Business. So my question is, can the same goes for OneDrive for Personal? Can this also be used for OneDrive for Personal? That is my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question, Emmanuel. Adewale, please, can you provide answer to that?
Please, can you repeat the question? I didn't get the question, please. Can you come again?
Okay, I mean, this repo that we have been doing is with OneDrive for Business. So my question is, can we also make use of OneDrive for Personal for this example that you just showed us?
Hello, Adewale, did you get that?
Yes, you can do that on a OneDrive for personal, but this the storage is quite limited, and you would have to use the Microsoft account to do that.
Okay, Emmanuel, does that answer your question, please?
Yes, it does. I get that.
Okay.
The storage is
Okay.
limited, and then I have to make use of NC account. I get that. Thank you.
Yes, that's it. Thank you very much. Okay, Babatunde is back on the call, so we'll just continue from where he stopped. Babatunde, please, you can continue.
Thank you, Catherine. Apologies, I had network. So I stopped at the point whereby we're trying to log into our SharePoint online account. I've done that already. So if you have an O365 account, you should have SharePoint. It's part of the packages inside the O365 account. All right, so I am logging into my O365 account, SharePoint online. And what you want to do is you want to create a document library to help manage your documents and the folders and also your files for easy collaboration within your organization and also outside of your organization. So you can do that by clicking here on the new button. Then you can see we have the list, the document library, the page, the new post and link. So what we want to do is to create a new document library. All right. So to do that, click on the document library that you want to create. Then we're going to give it a name. I'm going to call it file server so that I can easily locate my folders and also my files. File server 3.0. Okay. All right, so I have that already. I have my document library and the name is file server 3.0. What I want to do now is I need to download a tool called the SharePoint Migration tool. The SharePoint Migration tool is free. It's from Microsoft. You download it on your PC. It helps you with the migration. It's very easy to migrate. With the SharePoint Migration tool, it's very easy to migrate your file server on-prem to SharePoint. If you want to have a link to that, I'm going to share the link to the download in the chat box below. All right, so let's move on to our file server. So these are our file server here, a map drive. Adewale already explained what the map drive is and how its drawbacks and also its advantages. All right, so this is the one we have here. It's IT and it's of letter J. Like I said before, I have a couple of folders inside this map drive, and I want to move them to SharePoint Online for easy accessibility so that wherever I am, I can have access to these folders. Right, so I don't need to be at the office. I don't need to be at a physical location. Right, I can be anywhere across the world and still have access to my folders on SharePoint Online, because SharePoint Online makes things easy, makes collaboration easy, helps you to manage, helps you to store, and helps you to share your documents within your organization and also outside of your organization. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to go over to my menu bar and locate my SharePoint migration tool. Right, I have it installed already. All right, so my SharePoint migration tool is loading. Actually, I'm going to sign in right about now with the account that I want to move it to. So, shining SharePoint. Okay, all right. So it's going to take a second. Yes, you're done. Okay, so to start the migration, when you're done, when you successfully logged in with your email account and also your password, you will see this particular window dialog box right here that says migrate your file shares or SharePoint server to Microsoft 365. All right, so you want to click on this start your migration button here. So you click on it. Okay, so you're going to see three options, right? Copy content from SharePoint server, file share, and JSON or CSV file. What you want to do is to click on the second one, which is the file share. The content on my local computer or on a network file share. This is what we want to do. This is what we want to achieve, right? We want to move our content from our local computer or a file share, network share to SharePoint Online, right? So this serves our purpose. So I'm going to click on file share. Then I'm going to choose the folder. So it's in this PC. The letter I think is J. Yes, it's J. Okay, so which of the folders do you want to move? All right, so we're going to move the first one, which is file shares business. Okay, you want to give your folders descriptive names that you can help you remember, you know, the purpose of that particular folder. All right, so click on that. So I'll click on next. So it says the options here says migrate selected folder or folder contents, migrate only folder content. So we want to migrate the selected folder and its contents. So next, then copy content. So the beautiful thing about this SharePoint migration tool is that you can copy content to Microsoft Teams, or you copy content to Microsoft SharePoint, or you can also copy content to OneDrive. So what we want to do is copy content to the SharePoint. So click on that. You just want to grab the URL of the URL of your SharePoint online. So I'll do that. I'll go over to my migration tool. Then I want to clear this out, then control this. Okay, so I'll click on next and allow the migration tool to search or verify. Yes, so once the link has been verified, you can now select whatever folder that's in that particular link or site. So if I click on the drop down, remember we created a folder and we called it File Server 3.0. Yes, so we click on that and then we click on next. Okay, great. So we want to click on next. The reason why I'm showing this is because I already did the migration before. So choose your settings. So you want to perform only scanning. You can do that. You want to preserve file share permission. So this also is very key, very important. So if you have existing permissions on your file share locally, right? So when you migrate from your local PC to SharePoint Online, the SharePoint migration tool helps you to maintain existing permissions, right? So you want to tick that. Okay. I think that just about that. So you click on migrate. Then to view more settings, you can click here to view all settings and run through all of these settings, right? So the default is actually what you want to stay with, but then if you want to do some advanced stuff, you can run through all this, but just keep it the default. Okay, so I'll click on migrate. All right, so SharePoint is scanning the structure for file share business on-prem, and then once it's done with that, it's going to migrate our folders and content to Ha-Shem trials, and that is the name of our website, and that's the website that contains the File Server 3.0 document library that we want to have for all of our file shares locally. The beauty about SharePoint migration tool is that it helps you to migrate your files, seamlessly. Having to deal with multiple documents, multiple folders, wherever they are, structuring them for you, and then, moving them from your local PC to your SharePoint online account or website is actually very, very amazing. So depending on the style of your file shares, it might take a while, depending on how big your data is. So for this now, we are just migrating two files in the folder to SharePoint Online. You might want to migrate, as big as 1 gig or 2 gig, right? So best is just leave it there and allow SharePoint the migration tool to do its thing, because it could take a long while. But we are almost done with this, and hopefully our files are migrated successfully to SharePoint Online. and then we can view them.
So while we wait for this to load completely, I don't know if we have questions for Babatunde and what he has taken us through on SharePoint Online. Okay, I have the hand raised. Iberi, you have a question. You can go ahead.
Yes. Right. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So I have a question here. So when he was trying to migrate the files, right? We had an option to publish the files to either a SharePoint or a team, right? So now my question is, for example, if I have files on my Teams, right? And of course, I know that my files in Teams are also stored in SharePoint, right? But in this particular case, now I want to decommission a particular team, and of course, now have the files on that particular team, stored locally on my PC. Now, I want after some time, I intend to, after I've decommissioned the team previously, I intend to create the team again. But when this time now, I have those files on my PC. Now, after creating the team, now doing a SharePoint migration, should I choose the option of migrating it to SharePoint? Would you click on Teams, or should I choose the option of migrating it, or should I choose the option of Teams, and would the files also be represented on SharePoint at the same time? I don't know if you get my question.
Okay.
Yeah. So Iberi, right? So if you go on, Catherine.
No, you can go on, Babati. I thought you did get this question. I wanted to reiterate.
Right. Okay. So you can pick just one, right? So the options are there. Is that you move it, or you move to SharePoint Online, or you move to the third option, which is OneDrive. But with the way things are with the way the Mac is integrated, with the way it's situated, right? So you can have access to all of your files. When you are SharePoint Online, you can have access to your files when in Teams thereabouts, right? But if you want to have access to them, you should pick just one.
Okay, can I come in here? Let me buttress what Tunde is trying to say. Iberi. So if I get you very well, yes. So let me buttress what Tunde is saying. If I get you,
move it to Teams.
Hello, Tunde.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think we lost. Okay, so let me come in there, please. So if I get what Iberi is trying to ask is this, ordinarily, Microsoft Teams has, if you have any files that are shared, or any files that you share, or it is that you share, it has like a folder also in the cloud, which incidentally is actually on OneDrive, and then it creates any of those files that you share. So you have that. Now, your question is this: if you have a local file on your machine, if I get you right, please let me understand if that's not what you're saying. If you have a local file on your machine and then you now want to transfer the file, and you say at the point of transferring it, you say it should go into Microsoft Teams. Well, at that point that you say it should go into Microsoft Teams, it will actually be going to the Microsoft Teams templates. I don't know whether you're aware, anytime you do any files you share on Teams, there's actually a folder, if you look at it, a folder that it creates, and that folder is called Microsoft Teams files, or that's the name, something like that. So once you say you move a file from your local system and you move it and you say you should go into Microsoft Teams, it's actually going to that location. And there might be some particular reason you want to have that, because you want to be able to share it easily, because at that time is on the internet, those files, as against you uploading. Probably maybe you want to upload or you want to present from your Microsoft Teams. That's one of the reasons I know people do that. As against you trying to say you want to now upload those files locally from your machine, maybe when you're doing a presentation, or maybe you want to share a file, uploading it from your machine at that time, you already have it in the cloud at the same time on Microsoft Teams. So it's quite faster for it to load. So I don't know whether that's the scenario you're trying to paint and that's what you're trying to achieve, but if not, you can let me know if I did not answer your question, please.
Okay, so yeah, I think you have an idea, yeah. But then let me clarify again. So the thing is now, I create a team. I have a team created already. Say for example, I call the team project 1, right? Now at the end of the project, now I decide to delete that team. I don't want that team to exist again because the project has ended. And I quite understand that when you create a team, right, it also creates an existing SharePoint site for you where the files are being stored, right? Now, after I deleted the team, and of course, definitely the SharePoint site is also going to delete as well. SharePoint, the document library is also going to delete, right? Now, after about a month later, and I decided to also embark on another project, right? Call it project 1 again. And previously, I have deleted the project 1. And I had files that were shared during that project. Now, right now, before I deleted that project initially, I have the files shared now downloaded on my local PC. Okay. Now, after creating a month later, I now decided to create the project 1 again as a team, but those files are no longer there. Okay.
Yes,
now,
because it has been deleted online.
Exactly. So now I want to upload those files that I initially downloaded on my PC back to the project team that I already created for Teams. Okay. So now the question is, if I'm trying to upload it back, remember that I already created a new team which also has a corresponding SharePoint site for me, right?
Yeah.
Now I want to upload the older files. When migrating it now, do I choose to migrate it to Teams or to SharePoint? And if I choose any of the options, will the files be available for me both on SharePoint and on Teams?
Yes, it will. So what I want to, yes, it will. So there is something that is called a metadata. And what happens is that the metadata is only just showing you where your file is located at a particular period in time. So what happens is when you deleted and I like your question because it's a very good scenario you've painted here. So when you deleted your Microsoft Teams, definitely will delete everything that has to do with that team site and will delete every record you have. But good enough, you have this same file downloaded locally to your machine, so you have it in a safe location. At that particular time, the metadata that is on that document is actually not pointing again to the former Microsoft Teams location where you put it or on the cloud where it was. So you have the option to really migrate it to any place you want to, and you always have it. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, I'm good. Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ebere, for that question, and thank you, MJ, for that clarification. Chime has a question. I'll read it on the chat window. It says, can this migration process be achieved with SharePoint on-prem?
Yes, very well, it can be. Yes, it can be. I don't know whether, yes, it can be achieved with on-premise SharePoint. So if you see the option when Tunde was trying to do it, you have the option for migrate, from your SharePoint server or from your Microsoft Teams. From your SharePoint server, your file server, and the JSON file. So those are the options you have. So if you want to migrate from SharePoint on-prem to SharePoint online, very well, you have the same migration wizard you're going to use.
Okay, thank you, MJ. Ifeoluwa, your answer, okay. Ifeoluwa, please, you can go ahead with your question.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Okay, I have a question now now, what's the difference between when you've synced from OneDrive? I believe that there's a way that you can sync your SharePoint OneDrive to the local machine, and then you can move your file inside. and it's synchronized back to the cloud. I think there's so what's the difference between both using the SharePoint migration to all that? Is there any difference?
Okay. So I think the major difference would be that with the OneDrive, your files, like you need to be online and then you need to be synced. If you have your files on OneDrive and then you're syncing it to your PC, before you can have access to that the drive on the PC, you need to be online for it to be synced. I don't know if I'm getting your question correctly, but then for the SharePoint Online, when you move it, when you move your file shares from your on-prem or from a local PC to SharePoint Online, you can have access to it basically anywhere from any computer. All right. So I don't know if that answers your question, or MJ wants to throw more light on that.
Okay, so
no,
if I can,
really. Okay.
yeah. So one of the things, sorry,
the reason why I asked the question now is the synchronization time. Maybe you have your OneDrive already on the computer, so you just moved your file server, your files now to the SharePoint, and it's synced, because I know because the reason why I asked the question is because of the time difference now when you're having a larger file. Okay. I noticed that the SharePoint tries to connect and everything. So I'm just trying to see if using OneDrive to sync to SharePoint, if there's another way that we can use instead of waiting for the longer time.
Okay, so there are two things here. For the user, if you move a file directly to, so there are two things I want you to understand here. The purpose of a file server is actually, it is not specific to a user. If you hear the word file server, a file server is actually that you're using it on the network and you've shared, if maybe you've done a map drive, which a lot of people are connecting to, and then it's a form of collaboration, probably maybe per department. But so there are two things that that are shown here. There is the part of migrating that map drive, which means that what everybody have access to, you're migrating it to what? To SharePoint. Then there is also the aspect of what Wale showed earlier, where he migrated users profile. That is your own personal. Now that is your own personal documents that you migrate to your own OneDrive for business. So yes, I get what you have said. So one of the things you want to look at for, so I want to play the two scenarios. So let's assume I already have a OneDrive for business that that I'm entitled to, and then at the point my profile has not been, maybe I've not configured what Wale did. The administrator has not configured what Wale did for the files to be synced. I can on my own decide to move files there to my OneDrive. But remember, at that point when I move my files to OneDrive, it does not mean that it has synced to the cloud. It is still local to my machine until synchronization takes place, because it will still take the amount of time. The only thing you've just done is that because the OneDrive of OneDrive only created what is called, like, I'll put the word like a shadow, a snapshot folder on your machine. So even when you move your files to it, you are still moving in between your local system. It doesn't mean until it is synchronized to OneDrive. So the second thing you also want to look at, that's one scenario, maybe the scenario you've painted. Now, when you're now talking about file server, when you sync it to the cloud, you still need, if you want, you might decide to say, okay, now it is on SharePoint. Now you can now decide to say you want to use OneDrive to make it what? Local to your system, so to say. So instead of you going to online every time, so you want to have what is called like an offline copy. Either way, you still sync it locally, though there is still what? The file is already still on in the cloud, but what you've just done now is just have an offline copy. So that's two scenarios. So when you say you move the file to be faster, the truth is that you're still moving in between your machine. You have not synced yet until synchronization takes place and sync it. So if you look at what Wale was showing the other time, he showed the three types of states the files can be, where it can be on online, which means you have to access it at all time. You have to be on the internet to access it, or where it is just available offline, and then the other third option that it should. So those three states is what you also need to understand when you are moving files, because some people will tell me, oh, they've moved files. I drag a file from my documents into OneDrive, my OneDrive for business, and then that file is not available online. That's because synchronization has not happened yet. You're only moving it locally within your machine, because they created a snapshot of the window for OneDrive for business on your local machine. So if I don't know whether that answered your question, but if it doesn't, you can rephrase and let me know, please.
Thank you for that. I think it answers the question. It's just majorly that sometimes we've worked on environments where you have both scenarios, and there's one that is faster, maybe speed, as in majorly because of the connection. It takes place for the handshake, and which when you sync directly from SharePoint to your OneDrive client's application, they see it to be faster. I understand it to environment. Now I have another question. I don't know if I'm permitted to ask.
No, go ahead. You can ask.
Now, when you have an on-prem server, maybe you have your local users now. There's this hybrid environment where you sync them to the cloud, to Office 365. Now you have the accounts. Some people use it to log into their local system, and everything correlates. Now, on your file server, maybe you have permission. You've created your permissions now. Okay, accounts departments, people in accounts have permission to this on your file server. When you are using the SharePoint migration, does this sync with the permission, or you have to go back to the cloud now to recreate the permission?
Okay, that's a very good one. Tunde, do you want to take it, or should I go ahead?
So, like I said before, while we are migrating the file shares from the on-prem, from the local PC to the SharePoint Online, we will find that there's an option there to maintain existing permission. So with the SharePoint migration tool, you can maintain existing permission that is resident on your local PC or your file server, right? So, and then when you move your file shares to SharePoint Online, let's say on SharePoint, on your file server, Mr. A has access to this particular document, and he doesn't have access to this particular document. When you move this folder to SharePoint Online, it still maintains that permission, right? So you don't need to do any additional permission on SharePoint Online. It inherits pre-existing permission that is resident on that particular folder.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it does, from what you said.
Okay, nice.
Thank you, Kailua. Thank you, MJ and Babati, for that clarification. So, Babatunde, we can start. Your migration is completed, so you can go ahead from where you stopped.
Okay, so migration is completed. So we created initially we created this particular document library called File Server 3.0, and then we moved file shares business folder on our local PC to SharePoint Online. So we have it here. We can do anything we want to do here with it. We can access it anywhere. Logging into any computer. It's in the cloud. It's safe. It's secured. It is maintained by Microsoft. It's part of the old 365 plan, and it's amazing. All right. So that wraps it up for migration of file shares from your file server from your local PC to SharePoint Online. And like I said before, to do this magic, to do this trick, you need the SharePoint migration tool that helps you manages your file content. With that, you can also do some sort of advanced options like
Okay, so I think we lost Babatunde again.
Yes,
any existing permission, checking for certain documents, all other stuff. Right, so for me, over to you, Catherine.
Okay, thank you very much, Babatunde, for that very insightful session. And thank you also, Adewale, for taking us through on the topic, get rid of that file server. It's been a wonderful time on the call. And I hope after now, you're going to get rid of that file server in your environment. So if we have further questions for them, we can bring it on now before we make further announcements for our upcoming sessions. Okay, so I think we are all well informed on today's topic, get rid of that file server. So come next week, what you've heard today on SharePoint is the tip of the iceberg. Come next week, we'll be taking you through how to build a modern SharePoint site. You don't want to miss that session, and as it's going to be well packaged and going to be insightful as well. It's not going to be an exception for what you've seen today. And also, we're looking forward to seeing you on Tuesday, where we'll be taking you through how to protect your endpoint using Cisco AMP. Come Tuesday, we would like to see, we would like to have you on that session as well. And please don't forget to fill the short survey. The link I've posted on the short survey to our evaluation form. Please tell us how we're doing, and also kindly follow us on our social media handles, on our YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram for you to be well informed on sessions like this. Also ongoing is the MCT West Africa Cloud Bootcamp. We'll be having a session this Saturday from 12 to 1 p.m. So it's a free training conference for developers and IT professionals around West Africa and the rest of the world. It's an 8 days of immersive training and learning experience to empower anyone to innovate and repeat in the changing world. The promises to be freebies, there are going to be swags, Udemy courses for free, digital badges, free internet data plan, and the rest of it. So I'll be dropping a link to the bootcamp on the chat window. So you can simply follow it to register, or you can visit the M365 group to be able to get more information on that. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time on the call today. We hope to see you next Tuesday and also next week, Thursday, for another insightful session. Thank you, and do have a very wonderful evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Catherine. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Catherine.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.